I guess Masai Ujiri is a genius after all. That league-shattering trade of Toronto's golden boy DeMar DeRozan for the obvious superstar that is Kawhi Leonard was heavily criticized back in July by pretty much everyone. And yeah, even by yours truly. Mainly because of just how in 1 month prior, Kawhi asked to be traded from the Spurs to the city of Los Angeles specifically, being either the Lakers or Clippers. So it was very weird to say the least that of all places, the Toronto Raptors plugged themselves into that situation, trading away their best player in Raptors franchise history, who just signed a massive contract extension, for a player who made it very clear on where he wanted to be, seemed to have doom written all over it. Now fast forward 10 months later, and it's hard even seeing Kawhi Leonard leaving the Raptors. I mean, man, like what a turnaround that's been for Raptors management. Now, of course, it's still possible, but after this rather historic playoff run he's been on, with his numbers and the dramatic game winner against the Sixers and leading the Raptors to their first ever NBA Finals, I feel like he's a part of the city now. He's created a legacy there already. But to piggyback off that, he's been dropping high numbers of about 31 points a game and 9 rebounds in this postseason. And his defensive presence has made itself very apparent in that Bucks Eastern Conference Final Series. It took until Toronto was going into Game 3 at home in an 0-2 hole for the coaching staff to decide to put Kawhi on Giannis. They also decided to put into play a rather unique strategy of, just casually building a wall in front of him. And it clearly was a major issue for Giannis because ever since then, the Bucks didn't win a single game after that. So the greatness of Kawhi Leonard as a two-way player seems to beg the question, is he now the best player in the world? Well, a certain someone on an ESPN morning talk show seems to think so. And when it comes to basketball topics, I rarely see myself fully agreeing with anything Max Kellerman is saying. But I can't lie, he's kind of convincing me right now. Now that nonsense he said about Kawhi already being clutcher than Kobe is ridiculous, and we're not even going to give that attention. But watching how consistent he's been for the Raptors all playoffs long, with the multiple 30-point games and the countless big shots in the biggest moments, he's kind of playing like the best right now. Now the interesting thing about that Bucks Conference Final Series was that I already knew whoever won was going to be seen as the best in the league. Well, at least since Kevin Durant went down with his calf injury, because he was also playing really good basketball. But I can't lie, I was absolutely amazed to see how much Giannis struggled without being able to make it to the basket. He was turning the ball over, breaking jumpers, and even airballing free throws. But Kawhi, on the other hand, was making shots, getting steals, and even dunking on Giannis twice. So I feel that one player got exposed while the other got better as the pressure brewed on. So now let's switch gears and talk about something a little more relevant. I still cannot believe I'm actually saying this, but the Toronto Raptors are in the NBA Finals. Matter of fact, Game 1 was last night and they actually won. That's huge considering what the Golden State Warriors are going through right now. It looks like this is by far the most vulnerable this team has ever been, especially since the arrival of KD. In these NBA Finals, KD is going to be out for, at the very least, the first 2 games, so that's a pretty big deal. To add insult to injury, Iguodala also injured himself at the end of Game 1, and Boogie Cousins played 8 minutes coming off of tearing his quad. The Raptors just put the Warriors in the 0-1 hole, and they can honestly mess around and go down 0-2 if Toronto plays even better than they did last night. I say that because Kawhi Leonard had a rather disappointing offensive game last night, shooting 5 of 14 in Game 1. And the other Raptor star, Kyle Lowry, only had 7 points. Now this is a man that dropped 30 in the first game of the conference finals, so I know that he's much more capable than what he did last night. Now of course it was really cool to see Siakam drop 32 in his finals debut, because man oh man did he give the Raptors timely buckets. Whenever the Warriors tried to put together a run, he was there to neutralize the score. But for the Raptors to upset the Warriors and win their first ever NBA championship, I'll tell you what needs to happen. Their bench needs to produce when called upon. Last night the Warriors treated Kawhi like how they treated Damian Lillard with all the blitzing and the double teaming. That's definitely why he had a mediocre game, because he just couldn't find space to get his shot off consistently. So players like Siakam, Van Vliet, Norman Powell, Serge Ibaka, and even Marc Gasol, they need to hit those shots when the ball gets kicked out to them, especially at the three-point line, because it's the most devastating shot in basketball. thanks to the Warriors, ironically. If and only if the bench can produce, the Raptors can actually win it all. Now for my prediction. I always told myself I needed to see how Toronto plays in Game 1 first, so it's great that they were finally the team to beat the Warriors when they're vulnerable. The Rockets couldn't do it in Games 5 and 6, Blazers couldn't do it in Games 1 and 3, so it's about time someone took advantage of the opportunity to get the Warriors a little bit shook. So now that the Raptors are leading the series and kinda have the momentum, I definitely feel confident about this being a long series. I want to see the upset, just like anyone else, and they're definitely capable of doing it. So, Raptors in 7. If I'm wrong, then whatever. I'm just excited that the finals feel somewhat fresh and uncertain again. I think anything can happen, and the uncertainty surrounding KD is definitely something to capitalize off of if you're Toronto. But if any of these finals games turn out like how this gameplay you're watching does, then we're definitely in for a lot of nerve-wracking moments. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch and listen to my opinion. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for even more NBA content like this. Don't forget to vote in the top right corner real quick on who wins the chip and in how many games. My name is Clutch Dreams, and I hope to see you in my next video.